Yo, what's happening, home service homies and business nerds? Dan Plata, home service CFO here. I got my guy Tom King, and I'd like tell you about his businesses, but there's so many of them. I think we'd be here for a couple minutes with just me introing his businesses. So we're gonna get to that, and we're gonna get to a whole lot of other stuff. In fact, I was thinking earlier when I was gonna like type up the intro, Tom, I was like, we're gonna do this and we're gonna talk about that, and I was like, shit, like it might be easier to in like this intro announce what we're not going to talk about. Yeah. And then I thought I was like, I don't know if you got anything that you're for sure that we're not going to talk about, and maybe this is like a digression, like it's self-defeating, because if I mention the things we're not going to talk about, then we'd officially have talked about them. But I for sure, the one thing I thought of that I think we're not going to talk about, other than when I mentioned it here, was anchovies. I was like, I just don't think we're going to get to anchovies tonight.
That's not my favorite. We won't have that. Yeah,
I didn't have it on my radar. I didn't have it on my radar, but then the minute I just said it, now we're talking about it, so it feels weird. Anyway, we're going to cover a lot of ground, a lot of business ground, a lot of bullshit ground. For sure some marketing stuff, because that was I saw Tom make a post, and I knew who Tom was, but he made a post, and I was like, damn, Tom's smart. He's like saying some good shit and helping this person, and we should probably get him on here saying some good shit and helping all you guys too. So let me do this, Tom. I got to get I'm live on a few places, but on my feed, like annoyingly, I need to
get us everywhere. Come on, let's take over the internet right now.
Yeah. To that end, if you're out there watching right now, do me a solid, give it a like, smash the thing with the stuff, and give it a share. Give it a share to a Facebook group or I don't even know if you can share on YouTube, but we're over there too. Do the thing. You guys know what to do on the social media. What do you think, Tom? What do you think?
What'd you say?
So what do you think?
Well, I'm excited to be here. Thanks for calling me up. So you're probably overstating the fact about, what my intelligence. I'm a guy who graduated, school magna cum laude. So
I graduated summa cum laude was how I got out of there.
Yeah, there you go. So, but yeah, we've been at this for a little while. So what do you want to talk about? I mean, we're in retail, we manufacture chemicals, we've got service companies.
You kind of do it all.
We're spending our communications team for all of our companies exterior now. So people have asked us for years to take clients. So we're starting to kind of toy with that and start to, help people there.
It's funny all the stuff you get pulled into. Like the more stuff you do, the more doors that open, and then just the more stuff, the more cool.
Well, the amazing thing is, and I think this is guys, and I'm not, I'm no Tommy Mello or anybody like that, but the more things you get, like your finance department works together, your marketing works together, kind of the operations things, so you can build on top of that if they're similar. And we've been kind of fortunate like that. I mean, our first business was a carpet cleaning company, and I was working for Eli Lilly, the pharmaceutical company, selling drugs legally.
Just spinning them drugs out there.
Yeah, I was doing that and enjoying it. But I paid my way through college working for Service Master, and so I just I bought 3 janitorial accounts off of Craigslist for $1,000. And the truth is, I was so bored because we really couldn't talk to doctors, and they were handcuffing us, and it wasn't a lot of fun anymore. Because what drew me to all that was the science,
like regulations and shit telling
you. Yeah, a little bit. And when they made me stop playing golf with doctors, it wasn't nearly as fun.
Oh, so no. That's the whole reason you get into the pharmaceutical space is get some golf rounds in, right?
I had a better handicap back then. So when they were paying for my rounds, it was part of my job. Yeah, that was years ago. That's been a long time since you could do that. But so I bought these 3 janitorial accounts, and before you knew it, we had 3 carpet cleaning trucks, and we had janitorial accounts. And I kind of went to my wife one day, and I was working like a dog, and she was not involved. She was working for Chase Banks and running a branch, and she was upwardly mobile there, and there was a future there for her. And I just told her, I said, one of 2 things got to happen. I said, we either need to sell this, or one of us maybe needs to quit our job and go run it. And I think that'd be a shame, because I think I've done something kind of special here.
Yeah.
And I got the maybe just the foundation, maybe just the footers we're in then.
Oh yeah, and
And
you start seeing some light. You're like, oh man, like the rewards of my efforts get a little farther now.
well, way back then, I was making 70 grand as my side hustle
Yeah,
annually, and
hell yeah,
I had a full time job, and I mean that's more than what a lot of carpet cleaners make now. Hustling full time and trying to make a go of it. And so I told my wife, I said, hey, I think maybe you should think about quitting because you haven't been involved, and I could continue to help. And I said, that's a big thing to ask you to leave a 17-year career.
yeah.
So
It's a huge ask.
yeah, she actually, I said, why don't you pray about it? And so she came back to me probably 2 or 3 months later and she says, I think I'm going to do it. And so she quit her job and started managing things. And she had management skills. Business doubled in the first year.
Damn.
We moved in some more space. My son had been up at Purdue University. He joined us after some time up there, and the rest is history. And now we've got the largest rug plant. We have an area rug cleaning plant. He's become an expert, and he's on a national board. He travels to Turkey.
So he's a rug sucking pro. He's a rug sucking
we
pro.
call him rug nerds. He's a rug nerd. So they are all into that. And but we have a fantastic facility, probably one of the best mid-sized things, and he's kind of designed that and led some of that there. And we had a guy from England a few months ago into our place training, and so it's kind of cool. We got carpet cleaning trucks, and then we bought a rug plant in 2014, or not a rug plant. We bought a rug gallery, like a rug shop.
Yeah, I mean, you're spending all that time around him. You got all this expertise built in the rugs. Yeah. You're like, man, I could find some better rugs for some folks around here. Like all these rugs I'm cleaning are half-assed. Let's go sell some good rugs to folks.
Well, how that all happened is the guy, his son and my son, my youngest, we knew him through wrestling, and he called me up and he said, hey, my gal who's worked for me 20 years is retiring, and I don't want to do it anymore, and I think you should buy the store. And I'd always said to my wife, hey, if Mark ever wants to sell the store, maybe we'll do it. And so we ended up buying that. And long story short, my wife is not a trained interior designer, but I think you could consider that now after 10 years. And
once you start building that expertise, once you start getting that expert and building that expertise.
And so we compete with Restoration Hardware, Pottery Barn. We sell high-end American-made furniture. And then 2 years ago, we bought the largest outdoor furniture store in the state. And
you just can't help yourself, man. You got such an itch. You got such a damn itch.
Well, we're in our early 60s, and I feel like I got another 20 years. I'm really super excited. I just came back from Tommy Mello's thing in Nashville, and that's like watching somebody bite the head off a frog and tell you to charge out there and hit somebody when you're around him.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And so we're looking at, we want to see our service companies scale more. Our retail is probably where it's at. We're dominant, and that's going well. And I tell people, we have always focused on luxury. We do luxury, and I don't apologize for that. People in the showroom, they go like, hey, this sectional is $15,000. It's kind of expensive. And I'm like, we're the Mercedes dealer here. And, Dry and Reinbold down the street, they don't apologize for being the #1 BMW dealer in the state. And we're not going to apologize for being the #1 CR Lane dealer in the state,
Yeah.
You don't say it that way, but you're a little bit nicer, but that's the truth.
Yeah. Yep.
But yeah, it all just kind of fit together. I didn't go to the Wharton School of Business or Yale or Harvard, where some of those guys know how to just come out and churn money. It's just all fallen together for us. Sometimes, it's just the grace of God. I'm not, I think I'm savvy. I don't know if I'm the most intelligent guy. And I think there's a difference.
I mean, there's no better way to learn than doing things and getting experiences and having fun doing it. Like I spent plenty of time studying books and nerding out on stuff, but that gets old pretty quick. It's way more fun just doing it and getting after it. And in colleges, they don't tell you how to run small businesses. Everything that you learn in college is like, when you're working at this Fortune 500 as a number cruncher and you're just one of the whatevers of this huge company, here's how you do your job. And it's like, the hell's that? Like, how do you start a company? What do you need to know? What should you prioritize? Like, nobody's teaching that stuff. I guess we're teaching that stuff right now, but out in the educational space, nobody's teaching that stuff.
Well, what really gets me, Dan, is you probably get this all the time because you've been a business owner and been successful yourself, is I get these guys hitting me up on LinkedIn. that had management positions. Maybe they were a director in corporate America. Maybe they're even a vice president. And I'm talking Fortune 500, Fortune 200 companies. And now they think because they were, had these high positions in a Fortune 500, that they're going to come out and educate small businesses of under 50 million of how we ought to run it. And I just
Here's how
laugh.
this works.
I'm like, you guys don't want to have to go out and get on the truck and suck feces out of a rug or a carpet to go make this happen. You're used to going into a meeting and saying, oh yeah, we have $2 million or $10 million or $100 million to dedicate to this. And then we also have 50 people to throw at this. And it's comical to see all these guys that are getting into coaching. And if I'm getting coaching from someone, I want someone who's $5 to $10 million ahead of me.
Because they has done it and has been there.
Yeah. I mean, we've taken I don't know. I think your businesses have been just successful, but only 3% of people ever take their small business over $1 million.
Mm-hmm.
And we used to 10 years ago say, hey, you've been successful if you're at $1 million. I think that number's moving today in today's world to maybe 2 million.
Yep.
When you've gone over 2 million, you've kind of hit that mark. Yeah, it's really comical to see what's going on out there for the coaching and all that stuff. And everybody's wanting to get into what we do. And I'd love to talk to kids in high school where they sell these degrees. I have a degree in entrepreneurship, and then I've interviewed people, and I'm like, so did you ever sell baseball cards? Did you ever go out and sell light bulbs? Did you ever trade tennis shoes? You ever go and get a bucket, a mop, and go clean, wash cars? Did you mow lawns? I mean, that's what an entrepreneur is when he's younger. It's the kid that's hustling.
Yeah, going around the neighborhood, scrounging up 20s.
Yeah, he's not in the band.
I did it back in my day.
Yeah, he's not in the band. He's not the quarterback. He's that kid, a good kid, and he's running around, and he's got more money than any kid on campus.
Mm-hmm.
And that's an entrepreneur. You don't go get a degree in this. You either are or you aren't. And
I don't know how you teach it. I mean, I think you can teach it like as an entrepreneur. You can like show people and walk through the steps, but I don't know how you sit in a classroom and learn entrepreneurship. Like I don't
think you do. I don't think you do at all. I mean, I was fortunate. My family was in concessions for over 100 years. My grandma, who since passed, who big influence on my life, she would never let us call ourselves carnies. She heard me a couple times say, "Oh yeah, we're carnies." She goes, "No, we're not carnies." She's like, "We are food people."
We're better than that, Tom.
Yeah, we are food people. And I'm like, okay. But when I was 8, 9 years old, before she was going to give me $5 to go down and play some games in the Midway, she'd take me back and we'd have these tents where we kept all the cups and everything that we used. And she'd tell me to go through and organize it. And I couldn't go anywhere until I organized all that. I'm going to tell you what, I became a master of getting, small, medium, and large, and then plates, and then what the hot dogs went in and the skewers and everything, and getting that stuff all organized because I wanted to go play. And you know what? I didn't think about that till later in life, but that was a great training thing because you were in window washing, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And and we're in carpet cleaning. The more you want to do a great job, you don't want callbacks, you want high level of satisfaction, you want to wow people. But man, the more square feet you can clean and the faster you can clean it, the more money you make.
Yeah. There's no substitute for production. There's no.
Oh yeah. And that little thing that my grandma made me do, I know is a big part of why I'm wired the way I'm wired.
I have one of this probably isn't going to surprise you, but at Best Damn Bookkeeping, one of our core values is efficient. Mm-hmm. We don't do accounting for the sake of doing accounting. We got to do something that's like adding value and moving things along because we ain't just sitting here doing administrative bullshit for the sake of doing it, which I think is a funny trap. And I see this on a lot of people's P&Ls as they actually hit that magical $1 million number. They get sucked up with so much administrative overhead because they hire people, but don't know how to tell if they're actually making them money. And their P&L just gets super fat with admin. And they're like, well, I need 12 CSRs because I need help and I'm not really sure how to motivate them or organize them or make sure they're making me money. But now I just have a bunch of people sitting around looking real busy. But yeah, I can't stand it. Got to be productive.
CSR is a tough one, you kind of like for carpet cleaning, and we run a rug route for picking up and dropping off rugs in our plant. You
Mhm.
know, five's too much for one guy, and then two isn't quite is a little bit more than you need. And it's that you're always in between. But man, I've seen people that have three trucks, and it's almost a 1-to-1.
Mhm.
For every truck they have, they've got an admin person. I mean, that works when you're a small truck guy and your wife or girlfriend are answering the phones for you at home.
Yeah, and they're doing it for damn near free.
Yeah, yeah, or it's a team effort. I mean, my wife and I are a team effort. We do this together. We pool our money. We each take a salary. We
Yeah,
run the thing right. But
gotta
at the
have
end
value.
at the end of the year, we just look at the big number of what did we do together.
Hell yeah,
Across all the businesses.
hell yeah.
But yeah, it's
We
that's
got
a hard thing keeping CSRs busy.
we got Ellie Mason checking in. Ellie says, "Hustle's the key." What's up, Ellie? Missed you at Sales Boost, but we'll catch you. We'll catch you at the next one.
Oh man,
Jacob Dell says, "Evening, Dan and Tom." What's up, Jacob? And
yeah, Jacob.
Miguel Teresa McConnell checking in. I think I get to see Teresa next week, even, which would be super cool.
So were
Don't
you at Sales Boost?
I was down at the Boost, hanging out, drinking Bush Lights, yelling at people from the stage a little bit, doing my thing.
I wanted to go. I had lunch Sunday with Pat and Sheila. They came over. I was in Greenville at a thing called Mikey's Fest. It's an
Okay.
amazing thing. If you're out there and you're a carpet cleaner and you're watching this, you should figure out how to come to this event. Mike's a guy who started what's called Mikey's Board years ago, and it's just to help carpet cleaners get better. And he used to be kind of anti-industry because every truck mount's the best, every chemical's the best, and he'd be
Yeah.
the guy. He'd try it out, and then he'd call BS,
Yep.
and
Yep.
nobody liked that. But he is growing this whole thing. But what they do is once or twice a year. It's been less since the pandemic. They go somewhere in the country and they clean a Ronald McDonald House.
Oh,
And
sweet.
so on Friday, we cleaned an entire Ronald McDonald House, all the tile, all the carpets, rugs, upholstery, everything that's in the place. And it's an opportunity for a new cleaner who's maybe never seen some of that stuff happen to watch and observe right next to an experienced cleaner. But the big thing is we're helping something that oftentimes people forget about these nonprofits that need help. Every service company should have some nonprofit, one or two, three, depending on your size, that you
Yep.
just go out and take care of.
Yeah. Just support them with your labor. Do your thing for them.
Well, you got windows, you got a place for moms, or things for kids, whatever it might be, a camp or something. Run out and clean all those windows once a year. Plus, it puts your staff in there. It's such a great thing to give back. Your staff gets to participate in that, get to be a part of that. They see the value of why we're making money because we want to support that. But yeah, it's a tremendous event. So they do that on Friday, and then Saturday, Sunday they have sessions just like Sales Boost. And
Yep.
so I know you guys were over in Wilmington, where I got a niece and nephew that live over there. It's a beautiful place.
Dude, that was gorgeous town. That was super cool town.
They're at the beach all the time. They're from my nephew. He's from Chicago. He's never going back. That's where his wife is from. And so, but yeah, I wanted to come, but I didn't text, or Pat texted me because he knew I was in town, and we got together, got to see his new vet, but we talked shop a little bit.
Heck
But
yeah.
he said I was watching it live while I was in a session.
just
I'm
checking
serious,
it out.
man.
Little FOMO, just checking it out.
Yeah, I did miss out. I was glad to be a part of what I was a part of. I did a thing on leadership when I was there. That's such a big miss for people.
Do you teach it, or do you just try to like help outline it? Because I feel like that the leadership kind of falls into like the nature nurture type of discussion for me, where I'm just like, man, some people have it, and it just sure seems like some people don't, and I don't know how much you can teach it. How do you
Well,
go about like presenting it to people to try to like give them actionable things to do?
I agree with you there. When I interview people, I always ask them, were you ever the president of the band, captain of the basketball team, head of the debate club, maybe president of your church youth group? Did you ever have any leadership responsibilities growing up? Did you ever sell anything? Were you in Boy Scouts and you were the guy every year that sold the most popcorn? It's like, yeah, I was in there 6 years. No one ever sold more popcorn than me. That's a leader. It's got some sales skills too, but that's a leader. So I asked those sort of things. But I kind of took a different view this year or not a view, but there's 360-degree leadership, there's good to great. There's all sorts of great things about corporate leadership. And I've been a part of it. And on the recipient end in my corporate days, I worked for a really great company that taught me a lot about leadership and stretched me and educated me. But I kind of went a different way on my workshop. I kind of thought leadership is a life journey, is kind of how I presented it. And the first thing, and I think it's what we get frustrated with our employees, is it's what I had termed as just self-leadership. It's where a guy can't keep his car running right. He missed his rent. He's always short on food for lunch. That's why we keep snacks, so guys can at least grab some crackers and stuff if they haven't managed their money right. And we pay our guys well. Our techs make good money, but I think there's that self-leadership, and we get discouraged with people, and we get frustrated, because they haven't even learned to lead themselves. It can't be on time. Sometimes you got hygiene issues, things that, if you don't grow up in the right home, and a lot of people would term those life skills, but eventually it becomes the ability to lead yourself.
Yeah.
Right.
That's such a good point. I've never thought about it that way.
And that's what you get frustrated with guys. It's not necessarily they're always doing a bad job technically. I don't think we've had in the 15 years we've been in the carpet cleaning business, we might have one or two guys that were poor technicians that we couldn't change that. Mm-hmm. But we've had tons of guys that, my son's been gracious. Remember, he helped a guy, he'd never had an apartment. His parents were just kicking him out. We had a guy who we used to have an old red pickup truck we kept around, and guys, we'd put someone in it because the car wasn't running right, and we need them getting back and forth to work. I've bailed guys out of jail because they married the wrong woman and they said the wrong things, and they weren't bad people, but they were in a bad situation. Guy need a set of tires. I've driven a guy's car over and had tires put on it or brakes put on it. You kind of got to do that for people. Almost be a parent. You don't want to help people so much that you cripple them.
Yeah.
But when you're doing that self-leadership,
there's certain times, and it's a weird lens to figure out when the right time is to bail them out or whatever the case is, versus when the right time is to hold a line. And I think it almost feels like a judgment call every time.
It is. It is. I'd rather be over gracious and make the mistake. It's kind of like, would you, when they talk about, in a court of law, we'd rather two guilty men go free than one innocent man goes to jail, right? Mm-hmm. Our system's
allegedly that's what's supposed to happen. I don't know.
It's hard to know who's in today's world, who's the criminals,
Yeah. But I still have, there's a key, a car key on our shelf that is where sunglasses sit, car keys sit, whatever, in the entryway. It's Demi's. Demi lived with us for 3 months. She was a home cleaner for me, and she was in an unsafe situation. And I was like, I don't know what the hell to do, but she's got to go somewhere, and she's an employee of mine. And I was like, Marty, we have 2 spare bedrooms in our house. Should we just give her free room and board? And and we got little, at this point in time, I think we just had one baby. We had one baby, and I was like, Demi, this is going to sound like a weird offer, but I'm here to help you. And as long as you can put up with a toddler, or Danny might even been just 1. I don't even think she could toddle yet. But we took her in for 3 months. She left a spare key here. We still have her spare key. And I, on the window cleaning side, there was one time I had to drive. We were heading out of town, back to Wisconsin, and we were car was packed up, ready to go. And I got a call from a technician on I don't remember if it was a Thursday or Friday or whatever it was. And he was going through some family stuff, and he was up on a roof, cleaning the roof. And he sent a pretty discouraging message that gave me the vibe he was going to jump. And I was like, well, that would be probably not effective for what he was going for at the time, because it was just a 1.5 story house. And I was like, this is not good, not healthy. Yeah. And he happened to be on the exact other side of town. It was a 2-hour drive, and it was midday, late morning. And I just was like, sorry, Marty, we're going to go tonight, or we're going to go tomorrow. I don't know when we're going to go, but I'm going to go do this job with Zach and make sure he's okay. And we did the job, and Zach ended up okay. But there's like these times where it's just like you just got to drop everything and like help another human out. And I don't know how you teach that. It's like the right empathy thing, and when to stick your nose in and help somebody out.
And some people, you get through that. My son, my oldest son, who's in business with me, the hardest people to coach out of that are people who have a scarcity mindset. I mean, my wife, and I didn't grow up, with silver spoons in our mouth. We worked really hard, and she especially, grew up pretty modest. And, some people can't get beyond that. They always think there's not going to be enough. And then, so I think that affects how they feel about themselves and how they feel about being successful. Mm-hmm. But as I was talking this last weekend, what I was kind of share with people is like, I think there's that self-leadership. And I think that then what screws people up is, and you see this with a lot of small operators, owner operators, they're like, I could never work for anybody. I was a terrible employee, and that's why I work for myself. But yet their companies are struggling. And that middle thing I think there's 3 stages of your life that you go through. What I call is submissive leadership. And do you watch Ted Lasso?
I haven't yet. I was literally talking about it with my mother-in-law yesterday that I got
to get it started. I'm watching it for a second time. It's a great show about leadership. It really is, and a guy who's flawed and has his own problems. And it's really, if you're a leader, I think you really find a lot of ways the way he cares for people. But there's a scene in there where the number 1 player on the team doesn't want to practice. Mm-hmm. And it's the only time in 4 years he yells at anyone or raises his voice. And it's like, and the whole thing is we're talking about practice, Jamie, practice. And he's just going, and he keeps saying practice, kind of like Mora, who was the Colts coach years ago.
Want to talk about practice?
And then Mora goes off. He's like, playoffs. We're talking about playoffs, like, because we were so bad. But I think what it is a lot of people haven't learned to be a good team player, and I think that's what corporate America really taught me when I went in, because I had worked in nonprofits as a youth pastor for 13 years. So I'd been a leader. I came out of college and I'm leading things. And then I went in and I spent 13 years. That's my magic number. The first truck we got, I put number 13 on.
There you go. Just start right there. Yeah.
My life stages of, I don't believe in the whole 13 as a bad
number.
No,
that's one of my lucky numbers. That's a perfect number.
Yeah. So anyway, I think a lot of guys, they just can't be good followers. They can't be supportive of their boss. I mean, we all had that person in meetings where you're presenting something and then the first person to raise their hand tell you why it's not going to work. Mm-hmm. And it's something that doesn't need to be said. And they could come to you after the meeting and say, hey, Tom, did you think about this? But, a good leader, a good follower, someone who's submissive, they don't do that stuff. They're like, yeah, we can get that done. They're supportive. And if they've got concerns, they go back on the backside and say, hey, Dan, I'm not sure about this. I don't think we should paint all the trucks pink. That doesn't seem like that fits with, our brand or whatever crazy thing we as owners come up with. But I talked about that whole period of time where people, they got to have a heart of learning. And I think that's where, because when you can do that well and you lead yourself, be a good follower, I really believe that I've been called to a servant leadership and to shepherd people. And, when you create policies and procedures or guidelines, you're just like a shepherd. A shepherd goes out and watches after sheep, and they make walls and they'll lay across the entrance to where the sheep can't come out, and they block them from going to things that could harm them. Right. Mm-hmm. Now, a lot of times we say, oh, all these rules are made because someone did something bad. And that's true.
It's usually a catalyst.
I've made a policy or two because I'm like, oh, that's not working well. We need to kind of. But the whole point
I rewrote my core values one time because I was like, I need to fire this guy and I don't have a good core value to do it with. So I better rewrite my core values.
But I think when you get to be in a leader position, I spend most of my days, I spend a lot of time with my communications team because I love that. I started off as a graphic designer in Chicago back in the days when I was those that are watching this that are young, when they watch the History Channel, might be you. And they learn about the first Mac. I was there when they opened the first Apple store in Chicago. We go in, ooh and ah, and I was doing everything analog, and we were shooting film, and how print and press, and how we do it today is unbelievable. And the AI stuff that's going on about, I
Crazy.
mean, we had a photograph from a outdoor furniture that we only had this like 4-inch wide, and it went across. And my graphic designer, Sammy, she threw it into Photoshop and told it what to do, and it expanded it to an 8x10. The only weird thing is it threw like 2 random telephone poles in the back, and it's supposed to be like this luxurious beach scene.
Just added a little bonus.
It's
This
not, but
picture
you
would
can
look
tell
good.
it,
Yeah.
you can circle it and tell it to get rid of it. But what's happening now with technology is just amazing. But I taught about that last week, about just that whole idea of leadership is more of a journey,
Yeah.
and some people go to the point of leading others. But when you're in that submissive leadership in that middle, and you're on a team leadership, I've struggled over the years, and I don't know if you've done this too. Sometimes things will be going on, and people will say, well, I don't want to tattle. I don't want to get someone in trouble. And I'm like, look, if you're in charge of a policy, or if you're in charge of a procedure, if you're in the warehouse and it's your job to make sure all these boxes are lined up and have their own place, and you get people in that are helping and they're not doing it right, including me as the owner. If I walk in, you're the boss. You're in charge. It's your job to tell people, hey, this doesn't meet the company standard. This isn't what we've said is going to be excellence for us. And I need you to change what you're doing.
Yep.
And people struggle with that. And I've got some folks that I've got one team member, I've probably spent 3 or 4 years, and she's finally getting it, but in the beginning, and that's where that team leadership is. And you can be a great leader and just be a team player.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
that's
Leadership is a behavior. It's not necessarily a title.
Yeah, and you go up and down. Everybody thinks the only leader is the guy that signs the checks or can come in and sit you down and say, hey, guess what? We don't need you anymore. We're going to let you go. That's not what a leader is. In fact, I think the best leaders probably aren't in a good company, aren't the people that have those roles. Mm-hmm. They're the leaders that are amongst people and leading people to good behaviors when no one's looking.
Well, and two, there's something funny about accountability, which is employees don't tend to find themselves accountable to their boss or the owner. Like, that's the person that tells you what to do, but you're way more worried about letting down your peers than you are about letting down your boss, usually, depending on your relationship with that boss. But if it's a boss and not a leader, then you're especially more worried about what your peers think about your behaviors than you are about that person that gives you commands. And so I think that's especially where you see that is, who do they respect as a peer, and who are they trying to not let down on a day-to-day basis from who's really observing them every single day. I think that that accountability can go a long ways.
And I think especially if you create a good culture, this is a couple of years ago. So we've got, retail stores, chemicals, service companies, and I couldn't figure out how all the kind of the younger crowd, let's say everybody under 40 that works for us, we moved from 27 to 29, 30 people. We're not huge in all those businesses. We have a lot of big head count. We're able to accomplish that. We're under $9 million total, but we do really well. Our profitabilities are good, and all the little things that we do. We're not, I think our service companies, we've got a vision for, I think we can quadruple those in the next 3 to 5 years. And we're putting a plan together for that is super exciting. I'm super excited about what we're going to do there. But I think all these folks, I realized they just all knew each other really well. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't understand that. We're all this, because I know they don't all work together. They're in different silos. And I found out, I think it was my younger son or my older son told me, everybody's gaming at night together. And so they're all gaming. And my oldest son goes, oh, I might do that. I'm like, oh, stay out of that. I think that's really good. I said, I don't need to be in that. You don't need to be in that.
Yeah, let them do their thing.
Let's let them all game on their own, because I think that, they get to know each other. They spend time. And we spend a lot of time creating, company culture. I have people to my house with bonfires, game nights in the past, Halloween dress-up parties. I mean, we've got a good place to have that. We do a killer Christmas party. Is a good idea for anybody out there. We do a white elephant Christmas party, and I buy all the gifts. And I don't buy anything that I don't want to go home with.
Yeah, there
So
you go. You got it made. You're
it's
gonna win no matter
Apple,
what.
it's Apple Watches, it's iPads, it's Ninja, you know, kitchen equipment, those big mixers. Everybody wants one of those big mixers that goes in the kitchen.
I
There's
know we
always
want one too. I just don't. We ran out of cupboard space like 4 years ago. I don't know where anything's gonna go anymore. There's no counter space.
it's got to sit out. Those things sit on the counter. But in fact, 2 years ago, all we did was give everybody a day off for that and an experience. So they got to take a day off during the week, and then they like went to the Indy 500 track, and I made arrangements for a special tour that they and a guest got to go on, or I bought them one of the memberships was a zoo membership. So, and what was really cool with our team is to watch them. They traded gifts because different gifts were better for different people. Like someone said, well, I don't have kids. Why don't you take this, and your kids, you can have the year-long membership to the zoo because you got 3 young kids. And so it's super, that culture that you create is super, super important. That's kind of just my job now. I kind of roam around outside of communications. I always, my favorite phrase is nothing but good going on here.
Hell
Nothing
yeah.
but good. People need to think this is a good place to work, and it is. It is. We've had a few thorns in our team.
Yeah.
And I don't know about you, but the night before you have to release somebody, I hate it.
Dude,
I
it's
don't
the
hire
worst.
people. I don't
That
hire
was
people to fire people.
this. You're gonna laugh at this. Right along that vein, when I rewrote our core values back at Blue Skies,
Mm-hmm.
I forget what they were before I rewrote them because I wasn't passionate about them, and that was probably the problem. They weren't. I didn't write them in the first place. I just acquired them when I took over running Blue Skies. They weren't really my core values. It took me a while to realize they kind of need to be mine if I'm running the shit. And we just had this dude. This was the frustrating part. He showed up early every day, great attitude in the morning, was ready to go. Generally good quality work. He did a good job. But by 9 to 10 a.m., the first thing that went wrong in his day, it just was this deterioration to the most negative, hateful, complaining, whining piece of shit. And I'd just be like, dude, and he would always blast it on the team chat. I'm like, man, if you got a problem, come to me. But you're complaining about stuff that is just part of this job and that you signed up for. Nobody's making you be here. You chose this job. You know what this job entails. And the stupid thing was we hired him. He did well for a while, and then he kind of quit during the fall, which we usually shut down in the fall. So it's he's kind of about to be laid off. Maybe he got a different job. We brought him back the next summer, later in the year. He reached back out, and I was like, yeah, Tony was great. He did a great job for us. But I kind of had forgotten about his negative attitude stuff, and then it just kept getting worse and worse and worse. So at some point, this one always cracked me up. And I tell this story, even when I interview people, my first interview is always me telling them about us so they can kind of opt in or opt out. And I tell this story about our core values. I go through each one with a story. And the first one was positive attitude. And I'd tell the story of Tony. And the trigger, the thing that always stuck out in my mind, the trigger to me was one day he had 2 jobs that were pretty far across town. And he went and did his first job, and then we all had to hear about it the rest of the day. How it wasn't fair, how nobody else gets these crappy routes. It's the routing was always that was one thing we did really well, is we'd mix up the routing so people got fair routes. To the point, he was viciously complaining about it. And I was like, dude, you need to get off the team chat right now. You had a 40-minute drive. That is not the end of the day. Brent last week did a 2-hour drive to get up way the hell up here to go do a job. You're sitting here complaining about a 40-minute drive. It's once this week. By the way, tomorrow your 2 houses are right across the street from one another. You don't even need to move your vehicle. So hey, yeah, we know you had the shittiest route today. Somebody had to have it. Today it was your turn. Tomorrow you have the best route. The next day, shit you not, he's wrapping up that first job, and he just starts going off and complaining about he doesn't have time for a break because his next job is right across the street. This is so unfair. Literally started complaining about the exact thing that he was wishing for the day before. And it was oh shit, I don't know how to teach this, but like he just has the worst attitude ever. Like he just can't help himself. Everything is, he's a victim and everything is a problem, right? I still didn't even fire him after that. I waited until my customer Elizabeth called me, who happened to have my cell phone number, and thank God she called me. I think she's still a client today. We used to clean her house when we started our maid service business, and like it was me. I was out scrubbing her toilet. And so I got to know Elizabeth. We cleaned her windows. We did her holiday lights. We cleaned her house. We did everything for her. She was amazing. She called me and I was like, I usually don't like answer the phone, but I see who it is. And it's really weird that she'd be calling me. And I'm like, I didn't even watch the schedule at that point in time. I didn't even know we were out at her house. And I was like, hey, Elizabeth. And she's like, hey, Dan, you have a technician out here? And I'm like, okay. How's it going? And she's like, not good. I was like, oh, why is that? And she's like, can you just get a hold of him and send him somewhere else and send Brent out here or somebody? Like she do a few. I was like, Elizabeth, what happened? Like this is a weird request. Like what's going on? She's like, well, I kind of like caught him out of the corner of my eye struggling with one of my screens, and she did have some tough screens to get in and out. And he got pretty mad. And he broke it over his knee and threw it in the woods. Like at the customer's house, broke her screen over his knee and threw it in the woods. And didn't tell me. Like he didn't tell me. He wasn't going to tell me. Like that. And so I fired him from that. But I was just like, I should have fired him a long time ago. The problem was I didn't have positive attitude as a core value. I couldn't fire somebody because they sucked. And then I realized like, man, we really need a way to fire people when they suck. And positive attitude is a good way to fire somebody when they suck, because it's like, you don't fit in here. Like you suck to work with. This ain't going to work.
And, did you have to right to employment, like state of Indiana, basically you don't have to give you just tell people we don't need your services anymore. And, today's your last day. And
will state. Yep.
Less is more sort of thing. But yeah, we had a similar situation like that. The best guy we've ever had for carpet cleaning for upsells in 15 years, hands down, best person we've ever had. Every time my son would be gone, like training someplace or on vacation, he's in the back unionizing the place, getting everyone together. Hey, we got to talk to him about this compensation system. And about the third time that happened, I was like, we're done. We brought him in and just like, we don't need your services. It's kind of like, but yeah, you've always got people like that, and crazy things happen. So,
weird. So weird.
That's part of how you handle that too, is part of your brand. It's part of your marketing, I always tell people since the very beginning, we do what we say we'll do. And if we say it and we made a mistake on how we priced, or it's more painful, or it takes longer, we don't go back to the customer and go, hey, I thought this was going to take 3 man hours to do, and now it's taking 13, and I'm going to need to charge you for those extra 10 hours. We don't do that. That's on me. That's on us. We got to get better at our jobs. And that's our mistake. And I think, there's a lot of companies out there, and you see this, I'm sure you're on a lot of Facebook, pages, and where people post this stuff, and people will say that sort of stuff. And I'm like, you're killing your brand. You're killing your brand. You don't have to have fancy trucks and TV commercials and be on the radio and be able to afford all the AdWords and all the other stuff that you need to do in different, verticals. But man, just doing what you'll say you'll do. I mean, one time when we got the first retail store, I never had a retail job ever in my life, and neither did my wife. And we were selling wall-to-wall carpet as a part of the rug store. They sold that. So I went out, and the guy who I bought the store from, I asked him to stay for a year. And in my life, I found it effective. When I was in youth ministry, I had a guy who was my mentor that I was like, okay, Brian, tell me what to do. How should I do this? And I asked him one time, this is a good principle. I said, Brian, how the heck do you ever know as a youth pastor that you're even any good at this? You can spiritualize it, and there's a truth to it. Well, this is God's blessing on you, and I believe that, and that's true. But how do I know that I'm any good at?
Nobody's sending me a Google review.
Yeah, you don't get a Google reviews. You do. It's mostly parents complaining because their kids are degenerate, and it's your fault that they're having problems, and they
You
want to
didn't
blame it
straighten
on
them
you.
up. Yeah. You were
But
supposed to teach this
I
kid.
asked him. I said, Brian, how do I know I'm any good at this? And he says, when you can stand in the back of the room and watch it happen, you know you're good, and you're not needed. And I think that's a principle for just about every business you could ever be in. And that guy was in the church.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you can stand in the back and watch your trucks dispatch, watch your trucks roll out and everything, you got it rolling on, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can do that. But I think with the whole mentoring thing, I asked the guy who bought the store and just doing what we say we'll do to stay with me for a year and just mentor me, tell me. And so I worked for Mark. Now the store was dated and it needed to be updated. So every Sunday I'd go in there and I would move stuff around and try to, because I'm a graphic designer, and visually make it a more
Yeah.
appealing in the store.
Yeah.
I think I was really good at the floor sets. And he'd come in on Mondays and go, "What the heck
Yeah.
happened?"
What did you do in here?
But anything he said procedure wise, I did. Do this, do that, do that. So he taught me how to do bids on homes. And I went out and did this measure one time. And I was so excited that I sold my first whole home. And I'm talking like a 6,000 square foot home, high end,
Heck yeah.
Maslin carpet. It's a big ticket. And I got down to the bottom and figured out I didn't charge for labor. And I had already sold the job to the lady.
Yeah.
And after
No
the
wonder
fact,
why she scooped it up. She scooped that up quick.
after the fact, she says to me, she goes, I've done this before. And she goes, this price really seems kind of low. And I said, I'm going to be honest with you. I said, I messed up. I didn't charge you labor, but we do what we say we'll do. So we're going to do it. And she's like, oh, no, 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 you won't make any money. And she argued with me for like 10 minutes. And finally she said, she goes, please, at least let me pay half. So I was like, but at that point, I'm like, okay, I could do that.
Yeah. We can make that work.
I was not going to take the lady's money, and and she was just insistent. I think it was more upsetting to her, like she thought she was doing something wrong, being one up on us.
Well, I bet morally, like my moral compass wouldn't take that. If I knew that happened to you, is like, especially as a fellow business owner, I'd be like, Tom, no. Like if you insist that I can't pay your labor, like I'm gonna find a way to pay you without you knowing it. Like I'm not having it.
And it was, but the thing is, good lesson. Did I ever bid? And people that work for me make mistakes. Like somebody recently, I forget what they did. They did something that was really costly, and they were upset about it. It was in the furniture store, and no. It was actually my graphic designer, because she's out of school a couple of years, and she ordered some stuff in, and we had to reorder some things that we did. And she was super upset about it. I said, you know what? You'll never make that mistake again. And I said, I always think that when I have new people in, they're going to make one costly mistake. They're going to build something wrong. They're not going to do something right. They're going to ruin a rug. And most people that really care, when you have people on your team, will never do it again, because it's such a lesson. Back in college, when I was working for Service Master, I didn't do a very good job one night at a Blue Cross Blue Shield. They had this account, 12 floors in one of the largest buildings in downtown Des Moines, Iowa. And there was a callback, and it was a big deal, And now that I'm an owner, that was probably an account worth hundreds of thousands of dollars at the time, for all that. And I remember getting pulled in and getting written up. It's the only time I ever got written up my whole life. And man, I went out of there, and that was an adjustment. I'm like, it was like a knife in my heart that, like, okay, buddy, you've got to raise it up a level, and so I never let that happen again anywhere, as far as excellence and what I was delivering, because those things set you straight. But
man, I maybe haven't learned all the way, because I still am not good at this. But when we were just getting our bookkeeping rolling back in my Blue Skies days, this is kind of funny. This kind of happened on both of our businesses. One that I was like directly involved in, and like it was only my fault. We got my buddy Ryan's bookkeeping going, and he's got a pretty big business. I think it was like close to $450-$500 a month or something that his billing was supposed to be. And I never set up the recurring billing. And like a year later, I was looking at the production rate for the account manager that oversaw his stuff. And I was like, why isn't Ryan's in here? Like, where is it? Like, she's supposed to be getting credit for it. She didn't catch it, which that sucked too, but it like that's my fault. Like that wasn't her job to catch it. Would have been great if she did catch it sooner. But I went back to Ryan and I was like, hey Ryan, just in case you notice it, there's gonna be a $450 invoice this month. And that's the one I was supposed to be charging you for like the last 12 months here. And your bookkeeping's on me for 2020, or it was like 2018. It was when we first got started. But I was just like, there's only like one place that I can go to issue blame, and that was the mirror. And so I did that, and I just kind of shook my head, and I was like, like it is what it is, right? We made a more costly one in our recruiting business when we first got started because we didn't know all the intricacies of Indeed, and we were managing people's Indeed accounts. And one of our employees left the bidding thing on for an extended period of time, and we didn't have like a fail safe on it. And I think it cost us like 15 grand. And Indeed is not shy about racking up a huge bill on you. They don't put a fail safe in there, and they didn't give us. It was totally accidental. We asked for like some sort of, hey, we clearly didn't mean to like leave this on the way that this was on. We were just like really trying to boost something fast for somebody, and we forgot to turn it off. We didn't have a good process to turn it off. Can you help us out? Guess how much money Indeed gave us back from that?
Couple $100.
Zero. They just said pound sand. It was like, oh, thanks, guys. Like, okay, I guess you're an account manager and you get commission on every dollar we spend. So I get it, but that left a pretty sour taste in my mouth. But same thing is like, it's not their fault. I mean, they could have probably done something about it.
Sometimes people are really good about that. It reminds me back during the pandemic with the retail store. I kind of like when I start my businesses to just go about my business quietly, especially when I'm coming in and I'm trying to disrupt a market. I'm not trying to come in and make a big splash. There's usually some stronger players. There has been on all of those. But with our retail, our furniture store, I got to where the number one family-owned furniture store is 120,000 square feet, and I'm 10,000 square feet. I'm 13 now, so I'm really catching up with them.
Here we go.
But anyway, they had 2 billboards right at their interstate in exchange, and they had built this place years ago. Everybody knows where they're at, but there's 1 million cars that go by that interchange every month. It's high traffic. So I signed a contract 2 months before the pandemic at $5,500 a month for this billboard. And I thought I was going to poke the bear. I'm going to put mine up there. So when people are getting off, they're going to see me. And then we were going to use it during our shoulder season. We were going to bring in, our service company has something that would have fit. And so it was going to work for about 3 months. And so I had this whole plan. So pandemic hits. My print people are good. Yeah, we can adjust. My TV people are good. Yeah, we can adjust. Obviously you can bring your AdWords and everything else down when things were all just messed up. I call up the billboard people. Well, I'm sorry. I said, well, you sold this to me on that there's 1 million cars. I said, I love them. And they would do nothing based upon the fact that, I wasn't getting the viewership that was guaranteed during the pandemic. And that rep calls me.
I mean, for a while, like so many people were working from home, like traffic was down 60%. It felt like I never saw traffic in Minneapolis
for months. In fact, I'll tell you what, I'll never run a billboard with that company again. Now there's 2 other companies in town. If I can find a spot with the 2 other companies, I might do business with them. And billboards are vanity, For us, that was a strategy of people going someplace that's the largest place, just, awareness. People, we'd only been at it for 7 years when that happened. And so, it was a lot of people didn't even know we were doing what we're doing. It's not like we're a 100-year-old company and suddenly just, getting Dan Antonelli to redo your brand for you and taking a splash. So anyway, that was interesting how that all went.
Yeah. It sounds like American Airlines, my experience trying to get home from Sales Boost. I will not be flying American again anytime soon.
Oh, don't tell me. I bought for my vacation for our anniversary week with my wife. I bought tickets down to Cancun to this place we go to. And we're flying American. And my son told me that. I'm terribly, terribly worried they're gonna mess up my. Dude, I should have flown United. I flew United last year. I should have flown American.
I've saved $400 by flying American instead of Delta, and Minneapolis is a Delta hub, so I always fly Delta. But it was just like there were no nonstops. The timings of the American flights were better, which didn't. It was fine on the way down, but it didn't seem to matter on the way back. We were down in Wilmington, which is not the best airport to get stuck in. There's not a whole lot going on there. In fact, I couldn't even get wings at the bar at like 7:30. The grill was already shut down. 7:30, like just trying to watch the ball. Like my flight, I was supposed to fly out at 12:30. It was 7:30. I was still there. We tried to go twice. We were on the plane. They tried to go. Caution light came on. Back to the jet bridge. Maintenance people working on stuff. We stayed on the plane the whole time. They're like, okay, we got to figure it out. Here we go. Went to go again. Caution light came back on. And then hilariously, like this was actually pretty comedic. They tried to bring the plane back in, but then they couldn't get the jet bridge to come out. So like, hey, and it ended up being a false alarm. They eventually got it, but they're like, yeah, we might need to deboard the plane onto the runway here, and we'll bring the steps up, and you can walk back into the airport. But that was at like 12:30. I mean, it was probably 1:30, 2 o'clock by the time like second takeoff attempt
in
happened.
The morning or like AM?
No, this was just like midday. This was midday.
Okay.
And then they couldn't get another flight. Like we were supposed to connect in Charlotte, and I had then like a 1.5 hour gap between my Charlotte back to Minneapolis flight. And it was like, okay, I'm not going to make that. So then that one keeps getting bumped back. We didn't get out of Wilmington until 9:30 at night. Luckily, they had a midnight flight getting in at like 1:30, like a 2.5 hour flight, but time zone. So getting back at like 1:30 a.m. Central Time. And I was like, that's fine. I have a competition for my daughter Sunday morning. Like, I need to make it back for that. And there's a blizzard coming at like 10 a.m. So I just want to beat that. So I'm like, cool, whatever. I mean, sucks sitting in an airport for 9 hours, but it is what it is. So we get to Charlotte at 10:30. My midnight flight's canceled. They canceled it. And then they weren't going to get me on. I don't know, because Delta eventually saved the day. I don't know what was happening, but they kept pushing flights back. The last flight that I saw, and I was already home by this point, but they still didn't know that I hopped on a different flight. I wasn't going to get home till like 7 at night on Sunday night. Like the flight out was going to be at like 5 something. So I like slept in the Charlotte airport because they wouldn't give me a hotel or anything. I stood in the line for like 2.5 hours, and thank God my buddy Brian Turner was in that line. So I got to like piggyback with him, or I would have been in there for like 3 hours. And I got to this was like the most infuriating part. I got up to the desk. I was like, hey, I got to get back. Like my daughter's got a competition. I really like that is my priority. I need to be back to do family stuff. I've been gone. Like we need to figure this out. She's like, well, the flight's at like 2:30. I'm like, no, my daughter's competition is at 11 a.m. I need to be on a morning flight. If you guys don't have a morning flight, find me a different flight. Like there's a lot. It's the Charlotte airport. There's plenty of airplanes coming in and out of here. Who's going to Minneapolis that will get me back on the ground by like 9 or 10 a.m. And she's like, I'm sorry, we can't find anything. I open up the Delta app, and within 3 minutes, I'm like, I have a 6 a.m. flight on Delta. Like, what the hell couldn't you find? Do you know how the world works?
They don't do the trading, and they don't do trading stuff like that anymore. You know, it all comes down to empowering people and customer service. And
here's the best part. I showed her that, and she's like, okay. And I was like, well, how do I assume you guys pay me for that, since like you've just jacked up like a day and a half for me here.
Nope.
I assume there's like some sort of you'll take care of me. And she's like, well, here's the refund link. Like she just handed me a postcard. Here's the thing you can go to request a refund later. And then she just walked off. She just walked off. I was like, what is happening here? Like, I just can't imagine doing that to my customers. Like, sorry, it's your problem now. And I got the refund, and I did apply for the refund. I got $140. It's like,
how much was the flight you bought?
$650.
Yeah. You'll never get that time back with your kids, and you can always go make some money. It doesn't feel good. I
And
forget
they
where we were
still have my bag. I'm curious. I just heard my wife get back from the airport, and she was going to try to grab my bag while she was down there because that came in at like 7 p.m. Right,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I wasn't sitting around waiting for my damn bag to show up, but I do have
I
some
had,
bottle openers and koozies in there. I need to get my hands back on.
yeah. Sometimes you got to just take control of your situation. I've done that before, and even I forget where I was, but I was with a couple sales reps, and we were trying to get back to Indianapolis, and we had flown out to some meetings someplace, and everything was getting jacked up. And I finally said to someone, I'm like, "We're getting a car.
Yeah,
We're done with this. We're getting a car, and we're going to drive through the night." And that's what we did to get home, because there was no way, I was going to spend the whole weekend after this meeting on Fridays. I think we were trying to get from Atlanta to Indianapolis, and it was just all getting jacked up. And it was like, let's get a car and let's go. It's 10 hours.
yeah, it's very doable.
Yeah,
We got this.
let's take control here. And and sometimes you just gotta do that, when things aren't going right.
There's another guy in Wilmington with me. He had to get to Charlotte. He was on the same plane. He was going Charlotte, and then he was hopping over to Seattle. And I think if we'd have known it was going to take so long, but they kept. This was the frustrating part. They kept jerking us along. It was like, "Yep, we got you on a plane at 4. Oh, just kidding. That got delayed till 5. Oh, just kidding. It's 7. Okay, now it'll be 9:30. They just kept moving the goalpost instead of actually just saying it'll be 9:30. Because we just got a car, and it was like a 3-4 hour drive to Charlotte. We'd have been to Charlotte. We'd have been on a plane and gotten home instead of sleeping. I mean, like the Charlotte airport. Here's the frustrating thing: they have all the seats, but they have armrests in between every seat, so you can't even lay down on them. Like,
Yeah, not like the old days. You
no.
know what this really comes down to, how people, if you want to call it a brand promise or marketing or empowering people. Like, I remember years ago going on an award trip to the Ritz-Carlton down in Miami, and we're sitting there. And so during those corporate things, they have to do something. They have a meeting to justify all this money, so they don't have to tax. They don't have to tax you on it. You know that. You're an accountant, so you know all that stuff. You do bookkeeping. So, but anyway, one of the things that I was just amazed is I forget what the number was. Maybe it was 200, 300. Everybody that works at the Ritz-Carlton has a dollar amount that they can spend without asking, in order to make sure the guests have an amazing experience. And they told a story about that location of some family came in. It was back when there were Barney videos. Do you remember that? That's probably before you started having kids.
Like the purple dinosaur Barney?
Yeah. And this family had showed up, and they forgot their VHS tapes. And so the kid didn't have any Barney tapes.
Uh-oh.
And I remember getting checked in by a guy who was from an Ivy League school with an MBA, and he took my bags up to my room, and I'm like, "What are you doing that?" Well, it's all about going through their systems, because the Ritz-Carlton isn't a hotel, chain. It's a management system. And if you and I are wealthy enough to build a building, we could go and hire them to come in and manage that for us. And so they would put their label on it, and then they would manage it to their standards, our real estate, and make it happen.
Interesting.
But this guy on his own was able to leave the building, go to Walmart, buy the tapes, bring them back, and put them in. How many companies, would allow like a technician to get in the car, drive someplace, buy something, and bring it back? Not I don't know how that's going to happen, but the whole thing is, and I've thought about this: how do we empower people, to make good business decisions? And people ask me questions, and a lot of times, if it has money involved, and I'll just ask them, well, if it was your business, it was your money, if it was your $100, if it was your $500, what would you do? And most of the time, people tell you the right thing, based upon our values. And I don't want to give up $500, or we need to be profitable, or, we pay off of, we have what we call profit share in our service companies. Not only do people have bonuses that they can move towards, but if the whole team does well, there's money that goes to the pool, and then you can get a second kicker, because we have to win as a team.
Yep.
And, we're not against each other. My interior designers operate that way. We're out to beat Restoration Hardware, Pottery Barn, Our House, Crate and Barrel. Anyway, we want to beat them up. It's like going out on a football team and not being against the other 11 guys, and fighting each other. And I think that's sometimes what 100% commission sales does. We have to win as a team. We have to help everybody get better. We have to all go forward and move that ball. And I thought, it's good, and we're working through some of that stuff. We came up with, maybe if our technicians are having a hard time close, can we give them a $50 coupon that they can just pull out and tell them, look, you can only play this 3 times a month. This isn't every job. This is for when you have that person that's not closing, that you can't get to do the right thing, and then maybe then you elevate up to the manager gets involved. And so then you go to the management call, hey, is there anything else we can do for these? Well, yeah, I can do another $20, because you're already there. You want to build that ticket a little bit, obviously, and nobody can show up. I mean, I just got told the other day our trip minimum is going to go to $195, and it was explained to me why, financially, of what our acquisition, what our customer acquisition is, what's our cost to get there, what we're paying in labor. And it's like, no, we have to do that, and we're still not making a ton of money, but we're not losing money. And all that's part of what you're doing with your marketing. And it's even harder to do that.
It's a math decision. It's all just a math decision.
We've been around with Tommy Mello. That's all he says. It's just math. It's just math. It's just math.
I mean, that's as the bookkeeping nerd. I don't know. There's nothing else I could say. It's like when I speak, I always say I teach the art of decision making in a way, right?
Right.
And so I try to break it down, and I'm biased, but I'm like, hey, bookkeeping, it's not a thing you do to pay your taxes. That's what you thought it was, and you thought it was something your CPA was supposed to do, but it's actually like your most powerful tool. Your most powerful tool is not your truck. It's not your power washer. It's not your vacuum that you're using. It's the thing that gives you the data to help you make the decision about which truck to buy, about what marketing dollars to spend, about this and about that. And that's what bookkeeping is. It's a decision-making tool. And when you start out your small business, it feels like the pressure washer is important. It feels like the ladder you're using is important. It feels like the vacuum rig that you have on your carpet cleaning truck is important. I'm not saying they're not important, but at some point, as you scale the business, you aren't in the business of that activity. You're just in the business of decision-making. It doesn't matter if you're cleaning houses, cleaning carpets, cleaning windows, whatever it is, installing garage doors, right? Like, it doesn't really matter. It's just a decision-making process. And every decision you make, whether it's which guy you're sending out, which vehicle they're taking, are you going to throw a holiday party? Are you going to buy cool stuff? Are you going to hire an admin person? All those decisions are just math decisions. Every single one is a numerical decision. Even when it's light, fluffy, and employee engagement type of stuff, it's still a math decision at the end of the day.
And that's because so many service companies start with Chuck on the truck. Our biggest roofing company in the city, and I think they're now in 5 states and 90, 100 trucks and massive. The guy's my age, and he got out of IU, and all of his buddies are going work for corporate America. And I know a couple of them that now work for him. And he's, what are you going to do? He goes, well, I'm going to go start doing roofs. And he's Kelly School of Business, for IU. And he goes out and starts putting roofs on with one truck, and he built this massive business. Now his buddies who went to corporate America, they're his CFOs, they're his COOs. They did well, but they're all working for him. And this guy's, a multimillionaire from putting together, I'm sure, a couple $100 million company. And I think I for years have seen this. Has been interesting leaving corporate America, being involved in family businesses, corporate America. Church is really entrepreneurial. You go in, and a lot of times I'd start with 6 kids and then have 150 kids. Well, there's not a lot of money. I got to figure out how to get this done. I got to figure out how to do this. I need a better sound system. How do we get some of these things to be able to do a better job and create a better, experience. But so many people, and I've said this for years, they want to concentrate on gear and juice. What's the gear we're going to have? What's the juice we're going to clean with? And we've been in cleaning industries, and they talk about it all day long. Gear and juice, gear and juice, gear and juice. And that's important. But really, that's baseline. It's a given that you're a good cleaner. It's a given that you're a good window washer. It's a given that you're a good garage door technician. That's just assumed.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. That's table stakes to play the game.
Right. And they are so caught up in that baseline that they don't start going on asking operations, leadership, finance. And, I've heard guys for years, I don't know what you guys use. I mean, a lot of people use Service Titan. We're about ready to go there with our service company because we've outgrown a piece of software called Service Monster.
Yep. I was gonna say we use Service Monster in our Minneapolis business, but we're doing a little over $1 million, not pushing 10.
Yeah, but Service Monster doesn't give you enough KPIs, and that's where we're getting to. It can't track KPIs for us. It can't see and so but I remember guys going there. It's like, oh, it's expensive. This is back when it was 50, 75 bucks a month for a one truck. And like you can get Jobber and you can get some other name, and you can get that for 15 bucks, or they'll give that to you free. Well, it's like they'll go give you free samples at the mall when you're going through the food court, but that doesn't make a meal.
Yeah.
Right. You got to go buy a meal, right? You got to go spend the $12 to get a meal, but you can't get filled up on samples. They're eventually going to cut you off from that chicken that they're handing out there in the food court.
You must have been following me around in the grocery store this weekend.
Well, I do like Sam's Club when they're really when you're going through shopping with the wife, or Costco,
gives you an activity, gives you something to keep yourself busy while they're doing their thing.
And my wife and I are getting to the age where we still once in a while we do like to go clubbing, so we hit both Sam's Club and Costco in the same day.
There you go. Yeah, going club.
Kind of feel that youthfulness.
Yeah.
But guys don't concentrate on those things, and then they don't want to spend money on technology. I see that with marketing too. They don't want to. They go out and try to build their own websites. They don't. And there's different levels. Not everybody, entry level these days is becoming someone managing your website and basic stuff is $1,500, $2,000. There's still guys out there that are managing websites for $350, $450, $500. But, I think you get what you pay for. And, I know what's on the backside of that and some of that stuff that you want to have in that. And there is a cost to that, so, are you getting some of that? Is somebody spending the time continuing watch, keywords change, your H1, your H2 tags, some of those things, your metadata. There's always different things happening for those that, to make websites better. In fact, that's what our problem was today when I told you about having email problems. We moved a website to a different platform for hosting. And there's a program called Elementor that you can design in that it gives you. I don't know if you're familiar with it.
I've heard of it. I'm not. I would have zero if I opened it up. I'd be like, okay, now what?
And Sammy, it's not her fault. She actually put the new site in Elementor, and so something with Elementor, it wasn't talking to the host side. I mean, we've had
doing technology stuff. Sounds like it's just doing technology stuff.
Yeah, but so we got it figured out, but it took probably 6 hours of the day, and she was sweating it when she left, and she goes, "They said it's all okay, and it's all going to come through," and it did, because obviously I got your email tonight.
Yeah, we got her.
That all worked out. But a lot of people don't even spend the money to have that, like in your what you call a tech stack. I mean, you're friends with Latimer and Send Jim. I love that. I still don't think the mail's dead. I got a guy who's starting a one truck landscaping company, and I sat down with Send Jim and did some radius bombs for him, and then had his customer list, then went and did, the closest 15 houses because he wants more lawns to mow, and we're trying to create his route. And then he also wants the, chemical treatment and some of that. He's trying to increase that route. And, just to not spend the money and say, well, I'm not going to spend the $200 a month. And I told someone the other day because my son Jordan spoke on the tech stack and how basically explained how we're using it in our service company. And he's really, like we use Chirp. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
Yep.
And if you're using Service Monster with Chirp and what you can do and all the triggers that you can fire off,
automations are sweet.
We do a Send Jim 5 around, then we set him into the 3, 6, 9, 12 months, and then we do a thank you, and then we do a review, and all that happens based upon when the invoice is filled out, and then Service Monster kicks up to QuickBooks. And so then there's our accounting side up there. And, people want to do all that, and guys wonder why they're tired. It's like, if you're probably going to spend $600 to $1,000 for all that a month.
Oh,
but
easily.
That 12,000, huh?
I think most businesses that I see now are spending over $1,000 a month, like a scaling business, because you got company cam, you got GPS fleet tracking software, right? Like you got the phone system, like
Yeah.
Ring Central or whatever VoIP system you've got. I tend to see it between $1,000 and $2,000 a month is what
Yeah. But I
people end
think
up
when you're
having once they
starting
get.
out, if you're a truck on a truck, you got to look at, like, if you got a truck payment, if you're a soft wash guy, you're a carpet cleaning guy, window guys, you guys don't have as much equipment unless you're really hanging off the side of high rises. Then it gets pretty, you got to have some equipment there. But
But usually you can get it out there without a big truck. So you're like just hauling guys out in a shitty van. Works.
Yeah.
It's like a funny trade-off. It's a funny trade-off. You don't need big ass trucks when you're doing high rise because you're not using it.
Yeah, you're not running the 350s or 3500s, with the big
they took
diesels.
I think they took we got a new transit van, but for a while they were using my old 2009 Ford Edge for our high rise business. Only had 220,000 miles on it, but she was still cooking just fine. We're great to get 4 guys down to the job.
Right. So, but guys just don't want to spend the money on that software, and I think people, when they miss it, I think about, for us, we think about us when I think about our advertising team, it's about a 7-step piece. First of all, you got to have a website that converts, gives people, text now, fill this out, you're constantly doing that.
Yeah,
Then Google your Google My Business page, now that they, in the last 2 weeks, hooked up to where now you can hook Facebook up, and
no shit, I didn't know that was live.
Yeah, go look. It's live, from what I understand. I've got to hook one of ours up, and I'll tell you, it's probably got right now. People need to be watching out for, but so you got to get that going, because basically Google is with that. They're wanting to be Chat GPT. They're wanting to take everything that we know. They're going to start bringing a lot of these social media platforms in, so you find them there. Much like if you don't have an omni-channel. I mean, if you're a single truck operator, like, I'm not selling anything here today, but I'm a reseller for a product called Bird-Eye. And Bird-Eye is an omni-channel where all your social media platforms come in. So it's one channel to communicate. So when you're talking with your customers, if the lady texts you, on her phone, and then she messages you with Facebook, and she goes and, in Google, she talks to you, it puts it into one conversation thread. And then if she texts you photos, you've got them there. And then the other thing Bird-Eye does is it does review requests. And then you can do text messaging. And it's like $150 a month. I mean, for a single truck operator, you should get that right away. It's $150 a month. And because I remember about 7 or 8 years ago, I was so frustrated. I was so tired of some, West Coast kid coming up with a new platform that I had to now communicate on. Like I don't know if your area, but Nextdoor is on the rise.
Oh yeah, it's coming.
It's coming. And now that's the next one that you got to kick in there, And so there was always
give me the name of the software again. I want to put it in the comments here so people can check it out. Bird-Eye.
It's called Bird-Eye. Just Bird-Eye.
This is just birdeye.com.
Yeah. And then, but don't go through them, because I'm a reseller, and what they're going to sell to you and what I can resell it are two different things.
What do you have? Like, is there a birdeye.com/Tom's the Man or something?
Tell people just to go to xeniahill.com, to go to my website and reach out to me.
I like it.
xeniahill.com.
Booyah.
That's where, and then reach out to me and we can walk them through it, talk to them about it. In fact, you can start off, and if you don't want to even do the reviews, for $100 a month, you can just do the omni-channel.
Yeah.
And I think, who can't afford $100 a month? I mean, I got my phone here. It's one app. You open it up. And the great thing is, when you are responding in the app, you're responding natively to whatever platform brought that message in. Mm-hmm. So you're responding, to Facebook, you're texting, you can email if you got their email. And most people, when they sign up for all these social media platforms, use the same email. So, and it's usually when we're talking consumers, it's not like you and me. I got 5 emails. I got one for every business. I got a couple Gmails, just because of my involvement, it's, my mail is mess. And it takes me a little time to go through and keep up with some of those things. But I used to have them all together, and now I've separated them in the last year. It's actually making my life better. It requires a little attention every day.
Yeah.
But an omni-channel is something that people ought to have, and especially when you talk about the 7 steps, website, you got good SEO, you got your Google business, And then you need to have a tech stack. You need to start creating something for automation, things to happen. And I mean, guys are so tired when they come home and they're out on the truck all day long. I mean, automate some of this stuff, you know.
Yeah, and then it's like, now I got to go do all my computer shit.
Yeah, and they don't do it. I mean, I've had a plumber. Like, remember plumber? I got an electrician. My electrician I've used for probably 10, 15 years now. Danny, like he's billing me, and I call him up. Danny, how come you're not sending me a bill for? Oh, I'm not getting around to that. I'm going to do that before the end of the month.
That's always crazy when contractors are like months behind on their billing. I was like, how can you afford to keep working if you don't get paid for the shit that you did? Like,
what's even worse, man, is people that don't. I still meet guys that don't want to take a credit card.
It's crazy.
And or they're like, I was okay. I got to be careful what I say here because it's being recorded. I was at an event in another.
It's okay. Nobody watches this show anyway. You're fine.
Oh, great.
Hey, Sammy's watching. She says, you suck, Tom. No, just kidding. She said, you're killing it, Tom.
She said, you're killing it, Tom. You're the best, Sammy. So, but I was with somebody, had a $35 million company and thought Service Titan was too expensive. Didn't want to transfer to Service Titan and was using something else. Now, maybe there's some other stuff in his industry that are good, but it's hard to believe if you're in the 4 major trades, garage doors, HVAC, electric, and plumbing, that there's anything better.
Especially if you're in the trades, like because the value of an employee is so much. Like we looked at Workies, which I think is like Service Titan Light in a way. Like it can do a lot of things, just not quite as robust. We looked at it for our mate.
They just came out with something new. My son just sent it to me.
Workies did?
Service Titan just released something that's a light, like Service Titan Light.
Oh, I did hear they were doing that.
Let me look.
Yeah.
Keep talking. I'll look for the text message.
I looked at some of that stuff for our maid service business, but like in a maid service business, your technicians can bring in $50,000 to maybe $75,000 or $100,000 if they're really crushing it. But like $1 million maid service business probably has 20 employees. So any of those systems just get super cost prohibitive because they charge per user, and you got 20 cleaners running around all over town. But as you get into the more like trade spaces, especially where a technician, I was just talking to an HVAC company the other day, and he's like, we're pretty big. We do this. And from a bookkeeping perspective, can you handle that? And I'm like, yeah, 6 million in HVAC is like 800,000 in maid service. Like in terms of the chaos that's going on,
or
like the number of
or 600,000 for a carpet billing. 6 million in HVAC's nothing.
No, I mean, but like he's got a sweet business, right? It's really profitable, it does great, but the average job size is just south of 10 grand. The average job size of a home clean is $140, $150, right? And it's like
the $160.
I was like, I mean,
every 2 weeks at our house.
I had when we were doing Blue Skies, we were a little over, I think maybe 3.5 million. We were pushing 100 employees. I was like, yeah, man, I get it. Like, I just wish I would have been an HVAC because then I could have done 6 million with 15 employees instead of with 100 of them.
Here's what it's called. It's called Aspire.
Oh yeah, I've heard of Aspire.
Service Titan just bought them and just let out. And like the example they have is for guys who are doing like a lawn company. It looks like it's for a guy who's smaller, maybe 1 or 2 trucks.
Well, I think that's what Aspire started as, was because when I do our Turf Step radio show, they've been a sponsor for a while. Aspire's been a sponsor of that for a while.
So walking through, just because we talked some marketing. So when you get past getting your tech stack, then you got to do database reactivation. Mm-hmm. A lot of people don't do database reactivation. I mean,
what do you mean? What do you mean when you say that?
Well, your former customers, they're not doing 3, 6, 9, 12-month cards, reminders. They're not going through, and they haven't broken everybody up to like everybody in Carmel, Indiana. So if you have a truck that's going there and you suddenly have and especially with text messaging, you suddenly have an opening tomorrow afternoon, and you got a tech that's open from 2 to 5 or 1 to 5. You can send a text out real quick, go in something and send a text out and tell people, hey, we've got an opening in Carmel if you'd like to have your carpets cleaned tomorrow afternoon. And a text costs 2-3 cents. So you can send out to 3,000 people for $90. And is that right? Yeah, $90. You're the accountant.
I
You're
don't
the
know.
bookkeeper.
Give me a spreadsheet. I need a spreadsheet for that, Tom.
Yeah, but you might not have that many people. You might just choose the zip code, and if you start compartmentalizing that in your marketing so that you can do a quick response, and then again you empower your customer service reps, and of course they're being paid to make sure they're doing bookings, so they're motivated to do that.
Yep.
And they're conscientious that they're not draining through, indiscriminately throwing stuff out there. But that's it. And then you looking at what your ROI is, and ROI is whether you're making money or not. Like who cares how many likes you have? Who cares how many followers you have on social media? That's not really important. We've learned with YouTube.
It's ego. It's good for our egos, though. We like it for our egos. That's the only thing it does.
Yeah, but there are people out there. You meet people out there that got 3,000 followers and are making $200,000 a year and hardly working.
Yep.
There's this digital economy that we've created online for people is just nuts. And I think a lot of guys just aren't thinking through that stuff and have anybody that's working at that. And different people do different things well. And so you've got to pick somebody who can do different things for you. But I fired a guy recently. If people aren't doing this, if you aren't doing retargeting, with your AdWords and different service companies work. We don't think AdWords work very well for carpet cleaning, and here's why.
They're getting worse and worse too, it seems.
Well, they're more expensive, and now you got LSAs but carpet cleaning, and it might be this way even for like soft washing and stuff like that. And that's why a lot of soft washers don't do AdWords. That's something you're investigating, you're thinking about, and you're making an appointment for. Plumbers can do AdWords because when my buddy who owns a big HVAC plumbing company here in town, a couple of years ago, water heater went out. He's the most expensive guy in town. It's called Mr. Quick, and he's quick. I called, had someone at my house in 30 minutes doing the pre-thing, figuring out what's wrong, giving me a quote, agree upon it. I'm not joking. 30 minutes later, 2 service guys show up. They're tearing this thing out. 30 minutes later, a guy shows up with the water heater. I got 3 trucks at one point in the front of my house. And in 2.5 hours, 3 hours, I probably paid $500-$600 more. But you know what? I hung around for 3 hours. My problem was solved. And the next day I was taking a warm shower and I didn't care.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Get it done.
And it was impressive to what they did. Clean trucks, clean guys, super sharp people. And all of that's a part of your marketing. I mean, I see guys that get crappy uniforms. We provided uniforms for our guys for years. In fact, we just changed companies. And a lot of times uniform companies, the pants are real baggy and stuff. We'd use Cintas for years, and we just kicked them to the curb and brought somebody new in that's kind of regional. And our guys got these real trim like pants on that are stretchy. They're not like Lululemons. But
they're not wearing yoga pants out.
Yeah, but they're stretchy.
The old ladies living by themselves.
But a lot of our guys are fit. I mean, and so they got a sharp polo that's embroidered, and we do a dark blue shirt, black pants. I mean, they look sharp. I mean, I'm thinking, and a lot of times people don't want to do that. And our guys actually change into their uniforms at our business. We don't let guys put uniforms home because they wear dirty uniforms. They're not taken care of. We have a locker room where they can change, and they're all taken care of. And legally you can charge people for your uniforms, but it's like, you know what? I am not going to charge you for what I'm making you wear.
Yeah.
You don't want to wear this stuff. I mean, we've gone as far as we buy the.
Hey, look at this guy, Tom. Look at this guy checking in here. Heard of this guy? It's Pat Clark.
I had lunch with him Sunday. How you doing, Pat? I listened to you a little earlier tonight. Did a good job, buddy. But
as always.
But guys don't like we go as far as buying the tennis shoes for our guys, and I think we buy them undershirts because get some hairy chest hanging out. Girls hate that. It's like they about puke. You got a woman in there.
Do they? Oh, I better.
You better shave.
I thought my wife was digging that. I thought
she might, but the rest of the world doesn't.
Hey, maybe that's a good thing. I don't need any more ladies coming around, Tom. I got the one. That's more than enough. That's more than enough.
That's it, buddy. That's it. That's how you go 40 years. You got to think. I've been 41 years with my wife.
So what I'm hearing from you is keep the chest hair coming out, just flowing loose.
Not when you're out on a job.
Okay.
Let's cover that up. Cover
Okay.
that.
Okay.
But people miss all of that goes with branding. You can control your uniform when you're young. You can have, you can still buy stuff. You can buy pants from a uniform company, a magazine. And I mean, my wife kind of gives me a hard time. I kind of have a uniform, you know. I almost wear a black t-shirt every day. I wear a pair of jeans, and then I'll wear a shirt, and in the winter it's kind of an open shirt, maybe a shirt jacket,
Mm-hmm.
something like that. In the summer, I've got company polos for all the brands, and I'll just wear a different one every day. They're all black, and
Yeah.
the girls kid
Rotation.
around, huh?
You got your rotation in.
Well, just a different brand. But
Yeah.
people ask why black, and like because it's black is because it's slimming. It
Mm-hmm.
just makes you look smaller.
I just wear it because it hides most of the dirt that I get on myself a little bit better.
Yeah.
Like I'm very much a black socks. I really only wear black socks.
That's
There's
hey,
nothing. There's,
we're kindred spirits here, man.
there's nothing good about a white pair of socks except
I
for
got
the first
I
time
got
you wear
Under Armour black socks that I buy at Costco. I've probably been wearing the same Under Armour black socks, stretch socks for I don't know how long.
them.
But
Yeah, I appreciate the black undershirt too because same thing. It's like a white undershirt is only good the first time you wear it, and after that, there's nothing. It just fades. Well, it doesn't fade. Whatever the opposite of fading is, when it gets all of my grossness on it,
yeah.
then it's toast.
This is
It's
what we're here
toast.
to talk about. But the number I've got hooked on these t-shirts called Canva.
Oh yeah.
Canvas. Oh yeah. Yeah. Text me and I'll send you a link on Amazon and I'm not an affiliate where if you text today, we're going to make some money off of selling t-shirts here. We haven't
Damn.
the show hasn't gone to that place, where
No,
you're
we haven't gotten to that level yet. I'm still waiting for a beer sponsor, Tom. I still need a beer sponsor on this show yet.
well, yeah.
You think Busch Light would have caught on and given me a shout, but I suppose they got a few people knocking on their door.
Well, they're taking them out anyway. Those guys talk about a marketing mess they made for themselves, and
They sure
not to discriminate against anybody, but just how they couldn't dig themselves out of that. So many companies do that.
It was so funny to watch, though. It was so funny to watch the implosion of it, and just it's like they were so busy being corporate they couldn't think like a human for a little bit, and they just kept digging the hole deeper.
Well, and this is a good principle about marketing today, where we have all this social signaling. And I had some people on my communications team that were wanting me to go that direction, just different things, not we talking about the Bud Light thing, but my company does not have there's not a morality to a company. There's a morality to an individual. I have clear, and if you'd love to talk politics with me, we sit down and have dinner, and you want to just talk and we can still be friends and you're open enough mind. I love to talk with you about that.
Yeah.
And my personal faith is super important to me. And, that's something that's a value. But you know what? My company doesn't have an opinion on schools, people's sexual activity, we do have an opinion on the economy because sometimes it's hurting us. But, the only thing that we do is, faith-based too, is like at Christmas, my wife and I write a nice letter of why we're closed. And we close a week before Christmas and New Year's. I worked for that for 5 years. We close every company. We pay full. We close 4 days at Thanksgiving. And that's another thing about just recruiting. Labor Day, Memorial Day, 4th of July. In fact, this year, 4th of July, we agonized because it's in the middle of the week.
It's the worst.
Just going to It's on Wednesday.
Worst when it's in the middle of the week. They shouldn't allow it. What's independent about that? There's nothing independent about.
We couldn't justify an extra day off. I'm like, we can't be giving people three. I mean, we're generous, but we can't be closing for 3 days, and our retail stores would have been 4.
Yeah, you guys got to take a poll. Do you guys want a day off on the front end or a day off on the back end? Majority rules. That's what we're going with.
No, next year we'll probably get 2 days off. We might turn it into a longer weekend. We'll see. Because I'm of the opinion, if you're doing the right things, giving your people of the 220 days, and some people work 6 days a week. And, if you're in an industry where you've got a shorter season, like the soft wash guys, exterior guys, landscapers, they got to make hay while they can. And they're working almost 7 days a week because especially if you live up north like we do.
Say, for us, it's rough.
They got to go hard. I mean, they got to go hard for 6 months. I mean, my son is, is in the landscaping business, and he goes hard in the summer. to get it all in, because they're kind of like farmers. They got to store up money for the winter. Worse than carpet cleaners. But if you can't give people time off and be down those days, those 10, 12 days, you are doing something wrong the other 190 days. You're screwed up, because you should be making maximum profits on those other 190 days so that your people can go do that. And I think it gets you good people. We had a guy leave with us, a number one tech, probably makes more money than anybody on the floor for in-home cleaning. And he went somewhere else, and 6 weeks later, he was back because everything they were telling him wasn't true.
You can't bullshit that stuff.
And we were happy to have him. We didn't want to see him go. And, I think he's, we're developing a future for him. And, but all that stuff that goes on with business, people got to be able to see their way. We've got a couple A players right now that, we got to make sure that they can see their way to six figures. And we have that. I mean, anywhere on our team, people make anywhere from, I better be careful what I say. There people could be watching, but our people make great money. And if you see me at a conference or something, I'll tell you. And it's like, I want people 3 people bought their first house this year on my team.
Oh,
I couldn't be more excited.
Heck yeah.
We provide counseling services. We got 401k, 3% match. If anything that we clean, if you need it, let us know. You need a carpet cleaning at your house, your dog makes a mess, you kind of got to be on standby that you got to get an opening so we don't, you get time that would be wasted anyway. Yeah. So, if we can sell it, we would do that. Rugs, all that stuff. We let all our people buy whatever furniture we sell for cost plus shipping so that they can, be able to have that stuff. I mean, we sell high-end American-made furniture. I want them to have it in their home. We do fabric protectants. I tell people, take a can home, spray your dog, spray your kids, spray everything in the house, because how can they sell it if they don't have stories? They're like, hey, I spilt this iced tea, or I spilt this beer all over this white sofa my wife has, and we sopped it right up and no stain, didn't have to have anybody clean out. Well, that's a story. You tell that in the home, right?
Do you know Debbie Sardone in the maid service space?
No, I don't. I don't know anybody in the maid service. I don't have friends in that room.
So Debbie has her cleaning business fundamentals group, and she's the cleaning business coach of all coaches. Phenomenal. And she always has preached, and maid service is a really high turnover industry, like probably the highest of any of us in the home service space. It's super high.
I did janitorial to start, 300% turnover.
Yep. Yeah,
it's terrible.
It's so crazy. It's so crazy. And her big thing has just always been, you have to create a job people want. Like, yes, those things exist, but the thing that's going to set you apart from all of your competitors is creating a job that people are really excited to go to. And just because you're in a high turnover industry doesn't mean you can't do awesome stuff for your employees that are going to make them want to love coming to work with you and for you and with the team and all that stuff. So
that's what the whole book, The Dream Manager, if people haven't done that, Dream Manager is about a commercial cleaning company in Cincinnati, Ohio, and how they took over and how people worked harder and harder, and just how they love their job and the culture they created. And they created the whole thing of having someone that sits down and really, consults with you about what are your dreams, I know Jordan, our ops guy, he goes out to lunch with people. I thought the other day, we got a new employee, and I've been traveling here and gone, and I thought I need to grab that guy next week and take him for some tacos around the corner. We got a great little taco place. I probably shouldn't be there as much as I am.
Let's get one thing straight. Tacos are the best. They are the best food out there because they're phenomenal, but there's also so many variations. So whatever way you want it, whatever you like on it, whatever vegetables you want, whatever meat you want, a taco can please everybody. Ain't nobody out there that has anything bad to say about tacos.
It's all the food groups too. Let's be honest. It's the pyramid. Yeah.
It's got them all. It's got them all.
I could have tacos 3 nights a week for dinner and not complain. And I don't think I'd ever, if people told me that was the only food you had to have for the rest of your life for dinner, I'd have tacos. Yeah,
I'd be like, okay,
I can deal with that.
That'd be great. That'd be just like kind of knowing what shirt you were going to wear tomorrow all the time. Like, that'd be kind of nice. You went after work. You just takes a decision out of the game.
I know. So Hey, buddy, I got to kind of wrap up here. We're at 45 minutes, and I'd be
Hey,
happy to. I don't have
I
to talk
I
again. We'll
think
have
I,
to.
I think I warned you about this at one point in time. I was just like, Tom, it's open ended. We're just gonna go as long as we go, and if it's you and I, we're probably gonna go a hell of a long time. That's the only thing I know.
Well, someone just put on this episode is brought to you by Leonard Skinner. So
I did. Yeah, Michael said it, which just prompts me to give a little like, hey, shout out to my YouTube channel. Go check out the YouTube channel. If you guys haven't checked out the YouTube channel before, it's like the bites, it's the nuggets. It's if you don't have time to watch the whole live show, even though it's awesome. If you don't have like, you can go catch the podcast on the Home Service Happy Hour podcast and go, listen to it when you're driving around. But if you just want the nuggets of the cool things that we said during the show or the insightful things that we said during the show, go check out the YouTube channel. That's your nuggets. You can go get some nuggets. They'll put you right to sleep. Or actually, they'll probably get your brain working, and then you'll be like, oh, crap, now I can't fall asleep, so maybe don't watch it before you go to bed. But go check that out. Hey, we got a request here. We got to pray for Johnny Spencer. Michael's asking for a prayer. This one's for you, Johnny. I don't know why. I don't think it matters why, but we're thinking about you now, Johnny. Hope you do what you need to do or get through what you need to get through. Shout out. Tom, thanks so much, man. Thanks for hanging out. That was a hell of a lot of fun. I knew it was going to be. I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. I'm just satisfied.
But hey, I do want to make sure that you noticed I'm properly prepared.
Well, look at you go. You got the whole lineup. What were you? Were you drinking something? I saw you had like a cup going on. I didn't even ask you what you're having.
Iced tea. I've been traveling. Had too much of the other stuff.
Yeah.
It looks good. Looks like it's a light beer.
So. I was gonna say, I actually thought it was maybe a bourbon, and when you took it, like with the amount that was in there and the way you took a swig of it, I was like, "Dang, Tom, like you're really getting after it." But you're staying pretty sober for drinking bourbon like that.
We'll have to try that one time. So,
Tom, how can people find you if they want to learn more about your marketing stuff and everything else you got going on? Where's the best place to go?
Quickest way is reach out to me at xeniahill.com. That's our creative team. It's easy. I mean, I'm on Facebook, LinkedIn. I'm pretty public. I didn't say this. If you're a business owner and you don't have all that stuff, it's amazing the people that respond on a Facebook page, and I go look at them and I can't tell what business they own. I can't tell what city they're in. I mean, I'm the biggest salesman for all of our companies. I'm not in charge of it, and I'm in charge of all that, but I'm out there and I'm not the face, but people need to be able to find stuff. So xeniahill.com, you can find me. And I'm public there. I'd love to have a conversation with you. If we can just chat, if I can help you grow your business. And if I see you at a conference, love sitting around. Met some great people in Nashville this last week at Tommy's event. That was just on fire. Oh my gosh, learned a bunch of good stuff. I think the best stuff you learn if you're not going to conferences, like you were just at Pat's thing, I'm going to try to be there next year and just be attending, because there's just so much to learn, and sitting and having lunch with somebody and asking, where are you from? What you doing? What's the best thing you got going? Mm-hmm. Isn't that's where I've learned the most of networking all across America.
Yeah, man, those relationships.
I always tell my friends that are in our industry, if you're ever traveling and you get caught someplace, call me, because I probably know somebody in that town. They'll come get you.
Yeah, right. I told my wife that the other day. I was like, I got this guy over here that said, hey, come down and go fishing. I got this guy over here that wants to come out, that wants us to come out for the summer. I was like, at some point, we're going to have to like go see all these people and just make like a vacation run of it, because now we have so many people across the country. I don't know that we're ever going to need a hotel room again. Like, we just go stay with somebody. We got it. We got a whole lineup. Anywhere we want to go, we can go anywhere.
I told my wife I want to buy one of those little 22-foot little camper vans things. Pat got his bus that he took the kids across America the other summer. But I said, let's just take off for 6 weeks. I said, there's people to visit. There's things to see. I mean, we've been around in several industries, and we've got friends all across the country. And that's the great thing about the business is if you go to these things and you network this sort of stuff here, it's great to have people to call. We know each other better. You call someone up and say, hey, I'm struggling with this. I don't know what to do. Consultants are great. And sometimes you need somebody to come in there and get in there and tell you that, man, you're an idiot, and almost embarrass you, that you're not doing stuff right. But, having people that you can call that are honest and know and say, hey, let me send you my pro forma, or let me send you this spreadsheet that I did, and this will help you. And I've done that for people, and people have done that for me. And we would not be sitting here with all the business we have without gracious people helping us, and just being open-handed and saying, here's some stuff. This helped us. Hopefully it can help you, and stuff. But yeah, if I can help people, xeniahill.com, Tom King in Indiana on Facebook, I'll accept anybody as a friend. So
I would have said that years ago, but now half the people that try to friend me are just like, it's not really them. There's just all these like fake profiles out there. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah, you can usually tell if they know other people that you know. So
yeah,
I know they know what you're talking about. But yeah. If you're a business coach, don't friend me. Okay, I'm not going to friend you.
I don't need your coaching anymore.
All those corporate America business coaches that are reaching out to you every week.
Yep. Oh, it's so funny. It is funny.
Well, we should end this. You should have some Leonard Skinner queued up, or some Fortunate. My phone ringer is Fortunate Son.
I don't know that I want to get sued or anything. But
8 bars. You can do 8 bars.
All right. Well, yeah. I'll just string a bunch together and just make a mashup of it, and so it'll be just enough that you know what it was.
I'll send you. I found some stuff that's free stuff that we use when we're doing videos. You need some good. You need some.
I do have. It's going to happen as soon as you and I stop talking. But when this gets turned into a podcast, then the music gets added and all that stuff. When I do the radio show, like Jai, who's my producer, is on behind the scenes, and he's playing commercials and he's playing the radio stuff. This, I'm just like, hey, we're just here to BS and talk business and have some fun. No distractions besides you and I just distracting people. But the podcast will have some tunes to it.
And you were live on Facebook this afternoon talking about Sales Boost with everybody that ran it. I watched that for probably half an hour, 45 minutes before I had to leave the office and get home and get some stuff done. But
dude, it was fun. The Sales Boost was a blast. It was so well
I saw the stuff. Those guys who were in charge, the visuals, they took it to a whole different level.
It was really well done. Which I knew that, like, Angela, she gets it. She knows how to. She doesn't love to do the detail stuff. I think she mentioned it. She's like total visionary, not much of an integrator, but like she can integrate. She just doesn't love it. And she integrated the shit out of Sales Boost. Like, it was so well operated. It was amazing. It was so fun, and excited for it next year to be.
Well, it sounds like it was a good hotel. The Mikey's Fest that I was at was in the best hotel ever, and I think that's a big piece. They had good conference rooms. They had great places for people to gather, and they had an outdoor area. They sat around a big fire pit and just chatting with guys late in the evening.
Yep.
The guys from the West Coast were so thrilled that they could get some Kentucky bourbon that someone brought in for them. They had a couple bottles. They were like, "You can't get this on the West Coast,"
Yeah, it's all about it.
Yeah, so they were all about that and what they were doing. So, hey, buddy, thanks for having me.
Everything. Yeah, Tom.
We'll talk
soon. Thanks for hanging out, man. Thanks for hanging out. Business nerds, you guys know what to do. Work smarter and harder. Go earn yourself some pride. Good night.